audience, and thank you so much for watching. Yes, we have another project on the channel. So excited about that. And just like our other projects, we're going to see, will it run? Can we get it going down the road? And from there, can we do kind of a budget restore on it? And I think on this one, we're going to do some other cool modifications on it as well. Yes, as you saw from the little intro, it is another Sportster. Perhaps we change the channel to Sportster Life Garage. Probably not. Probably a bad idea. But it's a pretty cool little bike, and I think it's got some potential. The bike itself is an '08 model and it's got lower miles, so you would think, well, what is there to do to it? But this one's been ridden pretty hard, and I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff on it as we walk around it. But let's dig into it right now and see what we got. So a little quick background on this bike, at least what we know of. So this is an '08 Sportster. It is an 883, at least it's supposed to be. We did buy this from a younger guy. He was actually very helpful. Everything that he told us about it that was wrong with it that we can physically see, he was spot on. So kudos to good parenting for that young man. But he did say it ran whenever it was parked, and right now it just won't crank because it has a dead battery. We can also just double check the miles too. You see 12,000. 12,000 I consider low. I think that's pretty good. And then of course, no battery. Now, chances are all we have to do is just charge it. Well, let's be honest, I'm sure that battery is not going to hold a charge. There's no telling how old it is. Or just have to throw a new battery in it and it'll run fine. That's great. If so, then we'll get an oil change done and then we'll run it around the block, see how it does, and start stripping it down. Use our normal process. But who knows? It may not run. I don't know. It is fuel injection. I'll get into that in a second. And I don't know a whole lot about fuel injection. So there could be some things we need to replace. But hopefully it'll run just fine. Now, he said he owned it for maybe a year or two, it sounds like. Based on his age, I can't imagine he owned it much longer than that. But he said the previous owner did all this to it, all the modifications, cutting that, painting stuff, you name it. It honestly, guys, looks like somebody just changed everything and ran the snot out of it and never cleaned it and never polished it. So that's where we come in. We're going to make this thing look a lot better, and we're going to make it something that you could be really proud to hop on and ride. But we're going to start over on one side and just kind of work our way around to see what all we need to get done. So starting back here in this rear section, this goes without saying that has been modified. Somebody did what I think was just one of those Sportster chain conversions. I think TC Bros has one, maybe Lowbrow Customs. But yeah, that's definitely different. So it looks good. If you go down through here, everything looks pretty lined up. And over here, you can see our deflection it's about, I checked it, it's about an inch or a little more. It needs to be about ½ inch, I think. I'm not much of a chain guy, so I will be going to the specs on that. So the chain is a little loose. And another thing too, right through here, you can see where this chain has been slapping that frame. So fingers crossed that once we tighten that up a little bit, that's going to keep that from happening, because that is no good. We do not want that to happen. But the chain's on there. We're going to make the most of it. Now, that is a gold chain. It's actually pretty cool, so we're going to clean that up really good. Every bit of this is going to come off. The rear wheel's going to come off. The sprocket's going to come off. The chain, the shocks. Might even take the swing arm off if I need to. So we're going to clean all that up and go through it. But we're going to go with what we got. We are not going to convert it back to a belt. And then also up here, yeah, this is the... I don't know what to make of that. I think somebody almost just kind of they just did the old, just hack the back part of it off. I mean, it's not even, if you look, it's not even perfectly straight, which is okay. Okay, kudos for trying something. It exposed the tire. And then this, everything's just loose. And then gotta love the tag mount up here, and then the extra strap. That's all factory, of course. So I've got some ideas on that, and I'm going to go over that in just a second, because we're not going to leave that like that. But that is the fender that's on it. That is the factory fender that's been chopped, and we're going to make the most of it with just some different ideas. Also, more proof of ridden hard. Let's look at this tire, shall we? So, over here, pretty good. Over here, really good. Not so much right here. Completely bald. So somebody's been having some fun with the chain drive, which is a shame, because this tire, if you look at it, it had a lot of tread on it, and somebody just, yeah, I mean, kudos to him. I probably would have done it too if I was selling it or getting rid of it. But maybe alcohol and poor judgment. I don't know. But that thing has been burned down. So unfortunately, we're going to have to replace that tire. That's just not, I'm not going to sell a bike like that. That's just bad. So it's not safe. So anyway, not much we can do about that. So over here on the motor, looking at the pipes, yes, another set of Vance and Hines. And yes, another set of Vance and Hines where somebody rattle canned the heat shields. I don't get it. I still don't get it. But maybe on these we can remove all this stuff with some acetone or lacquer thinner and there's chrome under it. I seriously doubt it. But what I think we're going to do, because these short shots, because I'm pretty sure that's what they are, what they call them, it's been a while. They have, if I can show it, the step down from the muffler section to the pipe is very small. So what that means, we can wrap them with the heat shields off and it should look pretty good just for the one solid pipe. And then over here, if the tips are scratched underneath it, we can always just hack those off to be vertical. Easy enough with a grinder as long as we don't interfere with the baffle, and just wrap them all the way to the end. So we've got options on these. Oh, one thing I forgot too. They got frickin' O2 sensors on these things, do they? Yeah, right there. God, gotta love all the digital stuff. Drives me bananas. And yes, as I was explaining, this is fuel injection. You can see right there, not something I'm looking forward to. So I'm going to explain out all of my experience that I have rebuilding these bikes that are fuel injection. So that's it. That's all the experience. So I'm sure everything will be fine. But all joking aside, we'll get it running. The part that pains me with fuel injection is if something's wrong, it's usually, it usually costs some money. You got a sensor you got to replace or something. It's not like a carburetor where you can just clean it up, replace a few O-ring gaskets, maybe replace a jet, and you're good to go. It's kind of frustrating, but we'll get it running. Now this thing right here, this intake, this intake will make you smile a little bit. So I get why people run these. They look cool. They're awesome. I personally don't like stuff this open just because, you're not protecting your engine as much. But I guess this one though had a special feature, where she just kind of bounces around. So I assume maybe they were trying to get some extra air in there, or perhaps some bugs, or perhaps some dirt. I don't know. Also, if you look at this filter, the black part you see is actually just screen. You can't really see it on camera, but you can see my hand all the way through it. So what that means, these kind of white parts or gray parts right there is what's left of the actual filter itself. I mean, the filter has completely, I've never even seen this before. It's completely deteriorated. That's got some. But yeah, like that right there. Like if you shake this hard enough, you will see dirt and debris fall down here. So that's pretty bad. So neato. Maybe it sucked in a lot of dirt that I'm going to have to deal with, but hopefully not. Hopefully not. But we will replace that. We're not going to replace the whole unit. We're going to clean all of it up, remove it and all that. And we'll try to find a K&N filter or some kind of an aftermarket one that'll fit in there, I'm sure. There's bound to be something. So somebody, I guess they literally just replaced it and said, it's fine. Let it bounce around. Now, one other thing on this side too is the finish. So these rocker boxes right here are pretty pitted, pretty bad. And we're going to try to polish on these as best as possible. These back here are very smooth. But then if you look at this gas tank, which is not the factory paint, by the way, you can see all this rust. I think this thing was either parked up against something or something got on it that caused corrosion here, here, and here. It just looks like it. And again, if you keep things polished up, if you keep things taken care of and don't park it next to something that's going to cause it to corrode, they'll last you. Those rocker boxes should not look like that, but they did because I don't think it was taken care of, which is very, very unfortunate. And more on the paint, this is not the factory paint. And the reason we can tell is because we found some overspray on some spots, which we'll show the overspray in a second on the other side. Same thing back there. That was painted. That was painted. But then moving up here, this front fender was, you can see the fender itself was almost like a satin or flat black. But notice right here, there's some blue underneath it. I think this bike used to be a blue. because I know Harley did have almost like a baby blue and a dark blue color on these bikes back then. My thought is somebody decided to put the fender back on the front, and they just did the quick rattle can to put it on. Just because, you know, they didn't want to have it without a fender. I would have ran it without it. That's just my opinion, but whatever. But we have some ideas on that, which we'll get into in just a moment. So as far as our controls go up here, broken lever, this bike was dropped. The gentleman we bought it from was actually very upfront about that. He actually bought another clutch lever, which is very cool. The problem is the one he bought's chrome. These are the original polished, so either we're going to have to buy another chrome, or I'm probably just going to try to find another one of these polished ones that's a little bit cheaper. The grips, yeah, it's like a combination of tree sap and maybe some ground up charcoal. Very, very sticky and gross. Even in the wintertime, they're sticky and gross. So yeah, those will be coming off. We will be replacing those with something, but that's minor stuff. Minor stuff. But the bars overall are in good shape. The controls are in good shape. No problems there. I think that's going to do good. Over here on the side, some more rattle cannage here. I don't get it. It's a freaking primary cover that's polished. So there's already paint coming off. So I do think what I'm going to do is just get the old acetone or something out and clean all of it up and just repolish it. That's all you can really do. Foot pegs, actually this side's really bad. These rubber pieces are about to come out. The other side's pretty bad too. I didn't show you guys over there, but we'll probably replace those. But all this is coming off, not the cover, but well, hope not. That means I have to replace something. But all these controls will come off. We'll clean these up, replace as needed. And when did Harley start putting the little dingus thing here on the kickstand? It's actually pretty handy. I gotta actually give them some thumbs up for that. And then over here, we're missing some kind of a cheap import junk piece of plastic that they put on these to cover it. I guess we'll have to eBay that. I don't know why they run those plastic covers. There's got to be another better way to do it. Oh, and also over here, real quick, while we're on that subject, plastic. And this stuff, don't even get me started with that junk. Come on, Harley. We can do better than that. I just do not like that. Some of you may, I don't. It looks neat, but from a functionality standpoint, it's really weak. And that's about it, folks. So that's kind of going over it. So as you can see, between bald tire, chain rubbing, air filter that needs to just go in the trash, missing pieces, we've got rattle cannage everywhere. This thing has just been beat on. It has had a rough 12,000 miles, I will say that. Oh, and I forgot one thing. I talked about overspray. So I did figure this out, this much. So this is the line that comes from, I believe, the fuel pump. Yeah, it's the fuel pump up in the tank. So this has a lot of gloss black on it. So what they did is unplugged it, left this plugged into the tank, and just sprayed it. That's honestly probably what I'm going to do, because we're going to rattle can this tank like we did the last bike. So after looking everything over, the question is, now what? Where do we go on this bike? Yes, we're going to clean it up. Yes, we're going to get it running, maintained, all that. Truth is, we could probably change the fluids, throw a battery in it, get it running, strip it down, clean it, put it back together. It'd be fine. But we want to do something with the looks. We want to make this something that somebody will look at and say, you know what, that's pretty cool. I want that. That's a really cool ride. Now, back here on the fender, we're going to have to do something about that. We'll get to that in just a moment. Also, I want to do something to try to clean up some wiring up through there, as well as maybe do a few things to the tank, don't know, and the front fender as well. The front fender just doesn't look right. And quite honestly, guys, I think this is the wrong fender for this bike. I do believe this fender is actually made for a larger wheel. I don't know if this might be an 18-inch wheel. I guess I could measure it. Maybe that's a fender for a 21-inch wheel. Could have come off of something else. Although you can tell by looking at the mounts that it is definitely made for this front end. So I don't know. Maybe it's the difference in the wheel, but we're going to deal with it. So here's my idea, and hear me out. On the rear fender, we are going to find a way to cut this so it has like a, like an actual fender oval type shape. But we're going to do it with just a basic angle grinder and nothing else, because I don't have a die grinder, no special tools, nothing. So we're going to get creative to do that. And I think what we're going to do, if you can look here, use this mount point for these, well, they're not signals anymore because the signals don't work. We're going to use this mount point to literally mount it down here. So what we'll do, what I'm thinking is drop the fender about an inch. The shocks already have so much freaking preload on them, there's no way they're going to bottom out, and you're never going to run, I don't think you're ever going to run a 2-up on this unless you're desperate. Drop the fender down, make it look a little bit better, and then trim the bottom once we drop it down. And then the mount point, there's another mount up under the seat, which we'll get into later. We're going to have to kind of just go in and massage that a little bit, because what will happen is it's going to change the angle of the mount point a little bit on the fender. That's what we're going to do. And that'll clean this up, and it'll keep it from looking just so square and boxy. Now the fender itself is factory, so it sits on there pretty straight, which is good. On this right here, what I'm thinking, let's go to the other side of the bike. What I'm thinking on this is this is a rubber mount motor, so there is no real like top motor mount like on an Evo Sportster. We're going to get something to relocate. Yes, this is something I'll buy because they're only like $40. Relocate the coil and the ignition switch. From there, lift the gas tank up with that mount point about 1.5 to 2 inches, and then get rid of all this horrible plastic. I mean, look at this. It's over here too. All this, just what is this? I mean, I don't like this. Why do we have all this on here? I know it's to cover all this up. So the idea would be to lift this up, clean all this out of the way, and try to open this up. Now, the wiring is going to be a challenge because there's a lot of flipping wires on this bike. So I'm going to try to loom everything up together and try to hide as much as I can under this tank. I don't know if it's possible, but we're going to give it a whirl to try to just open this up. So that alone, if you look at it, we'll have some better lines up there, and then we'll have some smoother lines back here. Now that gets us to this front fender. So the front fender, I was just going to remove it. I was like, nah, we'll just take it off. But I don't know. The front fender itself is in good shape. It's straight. It's never been wrecked or anything like that. Here's what I'm going to do. I think we take our mount points here, and we lower the fender. So we just re-drill, drop the fender down to a comfortable level on the tire. And then on top of that, I might actually go in here and just kind of cut and then cut. And of course, level it out, make it look as perfect as possible. So now you've got a nice slim fender that's down on the tire. Still works as a fender, but is not so much material. And that'll kind of go and look good with the bobbed out, chopped up, whatever the heck you want to call it, rear fender. Just the ideas. And then hopefully, once we get all that cool stuff done, we will finish it off with another Amazon special side mount tag brake light. We do have these. They do work as brake lights, which is cool. I actually did check that whenever I picked it up. But the signals don't work. There's no signals up front, and I'm not going to screw with them. We're going to remove the signals, and we're going to remove the wiring up front, which actually helps us with the whole gigantic wiring loom of mess going down the side of the bike. But I think it'll look pretty good, and it'll clean it up. So, and one thing I did fail to mention when you pick these up, so I'm assuming this bike's going to run. I do know the motor will turn. And the way I know that is guys, when you pick these things up, if you're picking up something like this and it doesn't run and all you have is somebody saying that, well, it ran whenever I parked it, that's the common thing. The truth is, even if it ran 2 years ago when you parked it, things can lock up. Take your bike, put it in high gear, 4th or 5th or 6th, whatever the transmission is, if you can get it in high gear, and just rock the bike back and forth as best you can. What'll happen is, think of it as like reverse ratio. This is now the drive. You're using this wheel to turn the motor. And what'll happen is when you're in high gear, you'll actually feel it slowly moving, and you'll actually be able to hear it sometimes. And sometimes you can actually hear the noise from the compression. You want compression, that's a good thing. If it won't turn, if it won't roll and you're nervous about it, pour your plugs. Pour your plugs, do the same thing. If it still don't spin, then you got a locked up motor. Doesn't mean you can't free it. It just means you're going to have a nasty headache to deal with, and it may be worth passing on it depending on what you're trying to do. So now, when you do that, what it doesn't tell you is what your compression really is, and doesn't tell you how the motor runs, and It doesn't mean she ain't gonna smoke like Snoop or Willie. Just saying, you might have some problems still. But if that motor will turn, it'll run. You just don't know how good. We will find out. But our next steps now, we're going to tear into this and see if we can get to the frickin' battery, because it's like, I don't get that. I don't know why the batteries are mounted like that. But we're going to try to at least get a charge on it. See what'll happen. If we can get it fired up, great. We'll drop the fluids, change those, and drive them. And from there, we'll start tearing this thing down. And I think this will be a good project. I think it's going to be fun, but it's kind of unique. It's definitely different. But let's get right to it. Time for the highly extreme and involved seat and battery removal. Oh yeah, and the you gotta love this, the ingenuity. I actually approve of this a little. I guess it'll get you down the road. They took the factory, plate bracket and just attached it to the seat mount. So I guess that works. And there's also a safety zip tie line over here holding it on. But I don't know if that's going to keep it from falling down in the chain drive. Yeah, we will just remove this. There we go. Perfect. Already looking better. Goodness gracious. All right, so what do we got going on here? Yeah. That is, we even got some dirt up here on the, I guess this is the computer. Yeah, this is the computer thing. That's loose. Wow. That would explain right there why our seat was so loose. So that's held on with like a plastic clip underneath it. I'm going to figure out how to shim underneath that to tighten that up. I could always, I don't want anybody to cringe, I could always JB weld this to the fender, but man, that's a good way to piss off the next person bad. I mean, you could always drill it out and all that. I don't know, but we need to tighten that up, because that would explain why the seat and, of course, our high-end plate mount was bouncing around. And, of course, the fender's still loose like that. Anyway, so the wiring here, this is, I mean, I think somebody was trying to wire an entire house or something, but they did use a zip tie, so that is approved. This is going to these signals back here / brake lights, so we'll use this loom for the tag mount, but we're not going to have the 5 miles of wire. So here's the good thing, folks. If you ever have this stuff and you cut it off, don't throw it out. These wires are still good. You can use them for something. If you watch the last build on that 1200 bobber, we literally made a wire harness for the tail light out of, gosh, maybe 5 or 6 or 7 pieces of wire that I had. Because yes, I'm being cheap and I don't like to throw stuff out and I don't like to buy stuff unless it's absolutely necessary. But this will all be cleaned up, as well as this. Golly, that is just crazy. And also, when we talked about this fender, this is where it mounts. So if we angle the fender, get my hand in here without looking weird. If we can angle the fender down a little bit, you're going to get a gap right here. So what we'll do when we do that is just shim it with like a piece of plastic or something. Yes, I said plastic. Or something, because whenever you tighten this down, it would just bend the fender up. So we're going to have to address that, but that'll be easy. That's redneck engineering, and that's right up my alley. And then the battery down here, yep, just one Allen head. So we'll take that out, pull this battery out. Good grief! All this, what is this? Oh, these just come off. Okay, I'll take it back. There we go. So we'll pull that battery out and see what we got. I think one thing I need to stop saying is that this should be easy, because I feel like every time I do that, there we go, I have problems. But this should be easy. Now I've done did it. You know, it's funny how they say that you need to disconnect the negative battery post when you're working on stuff, yet I think the only way you can get to this one is to literally pull the battery out. What do we got here? Let's just slide out. Ooh, look at that. This should be a 10 millimeter, and it is. World is the major malfunction here. Just come off the battery already. There, goodness. If anybody would like to send me some metric ratcheting wrenches, please do. Of course, this should be the only metric. Should be the only metric on this bike. Whoa, look out. All right, so we got our battery. Autocraft. I don't even know who makes Autocraft. Is that Advance Auto? No idea. So we're going to take this battery right here. We're either going to get this thing charged, and we'll be right back with you folks to try to fire this bike up, or we're going to have a brand new battery. So let's go. We're going to go figure out what's wrong with it, and we'll be right back. One thing I want to show you guys too, I've explained this on other videos. When you do this, you take this stuff apart like this bracket, which I can't even get to stay in there. Take your bolts, put them back in the holes, all right? Do the best you can. I can get that started. Just, put it in there light so when you come back, you know where the heck everything goes. Even stuff as simple as the dorky little seat mount there. Put in the comments, what do you like to do? Some folks like to take everything off, bag it up, label it. I like to take everything off and just, whenever I do, put all my fasteners back in. It just kind of helps me remember where stuff is. Both ways work. Put the comments below. I'm curious on what people like to do, maybe some other ideas. Because I don't know about you folks, when I start tearing these things all the way apart and I get back into them, I can't remember. I can't remember. I have to go back and look at video footage or something like that. But let us know. But we're going to go get this battery situation figured out. We'll be right back. So we got us a new battery in the bike. As I assumed, the old one would not hold a charge. That's fine. Get it. We got it right. We're going to try to start this thing now. It's really, really cold outside, so I'm going to make this very quick. I wish it was warmer for the fact that we're just now starting this for the first time, but that's the weather we're given, so we'll deal with it. One thing to point out on these bikes, I was checking the oil level on this one, and I think we're good to go. And the reason I say think is, let me try to explain it. Especially on these Sportsters, I've owned plenty of Softails and never had this problem, but I'm sure maybe they can do it too. I don't know, but I do know Sportsters do this. You got your oil tank up here, you got your oil pump down here, and of course your filter's up here on the front. And you got your lines. You can see the lines behind that exhaust pipe right there. So the oil pump is just pulling oil from the tank into the motor, through the filter, wherever, whatever the path is, back up to the tank. Well, if you leave these things parked for a while, if you park your bike and you know it had the right oil level in it, you know everything's good, it was just spec or close enough, and all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, I'm a quart low. Don't panic. Oil has dripped down in or leaks down into this motor, and it's sitting down here. So a lot of people will see that, and then they'll go add another quart here, and now you've got an extra quart in the whole system. I have done that before on an Evo Sportster. It was an absolute freaking mess. I had oil puking out of the oil tank like crazy. So be careful. Stay on top of your bike. If you know the history, you know it doesn't burn oil, you know it doesn't leak oil, and you know it was there before, it didn't go anywhere. It's down in here. So be careful of that. Also, these bikes, you want to get them up to operating temp as best as possible before you check it. So they're a little different than your car sometimes. Your car's got just a pan on the bottom, and that oil is going to go to the bottom, and it's going to stay there. You have the dipstick going down in. So it's a lot different. So keep that in mind just as a tip. That way you don't overfill them, because it can happen. But let's see if this thing will fire up. Hopefully we'll be in good shape. All we need to do is run it for literally like 20 seconds, something like that, just to hear it run, just to hear the throttle response. And after that, we're going to just drain all the fluids and then maybe get it on the road from there. We'll see. All right. Let's see what we get. And I forgot I got to deal with this short, stubby clutch lever. So it's a good way to work out your hands there. Okay, that is a massive win. I will take that any day. So great news on the startup. It fired up. I saw no smoke. I saw no check engine light. Actually, whenever I got on it a little bit, I did see a little bit of black smoke coming out, but this thing has been sitting for so long. I'm going to let it I'm going to let it just kind of come around a little bit. But what we're going to do now, we are going to fire it up real quick and just see if the transmission will actually move the bike. And after that, we're just going to start changing the oil. Let's see if it'll move. Well, that is all outstanding news. Motor works. Transmission, well, at least it moves in first gear. We'll learn of the other gears later. No significant smoking. Like I said, I saw some black smoke coming out of the exhaust, but that could just be from whatever, I don't know, what do they do with these things? The tuner package they put in there or whatever, but I'm not going to worry about it. The thing runs. That's the most important thing. And yeah, everything seems pretty good. So let's get the fluids changed, and then we're going to try to take it around the block and see how she'll actually ride. And from there, folks, it's time to start stripping her down and see if we can make it better. Our current situation, oil change, should be easy. Here's your drain line right here. This just goes up to the oil tank. You remove this clamp, pull the plug out, drop the oil, put the plug back in, put the clamp on. Harley's been doing that for years. They've done it different ways. Softails have used a plug. The older Sportsters also had a plug that was actually mounted, or was actually part of the frame, and you just took the line and literally pushed it on it. But I guess Harley, in all their need, like other corporations, to save a penny, used a plastic plug instead of metal, and it's broke off. So that's terrific. I'm going to try to get this out with some pliers. If I can't, I'm going to have to cut it about here, and I'm just going to create something else to use as a plug, because I found some online for $12 for a freaking oil change plug. So thank you, Harley, for using cheap junk on these bikes that now somebody has to go fight and replace. So what we're going to do, you're looking at these bolts. I'm thinking it's going to be this size right here. So we're just going to cut this off if this is the size, smooth that out with a file or a grinder, and then we'll just use the shoulder of this bolt as the plug. That's essentially doing what the old ones did. It won't have the little spot on the end to kind of help seal it good, but we're going to clamp that. We're going to really be able to get on that clamp pretty tight now that we're using metal instead of a piece of plastic. Also got other sizes, but that's what we're going to try. But boy, you talk about frustrating. As expected, we had to cut that line. So here's a little piece of plastic that was stuck in the line. I don't know how good you guys can see that. It's literally a cheap piece of junk. My guess is some poor soul that was trying to change their oil got some pliers on this and it snapped off. And based on the way the oil looks, it looks like it's been in there for quite a while. So my guess is somebody just said the heck with it and left it in. That's terrific. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this bolt here at the right here where this little shoulder or smooth area is. Take a file and just smooth it out and it should be good. These plugs do have a little bit of a higher point. I don't know if you call it a lip or whatever, but you kind of know what I mean on the end. I think this is still going to work just fine, and we'll clamp it down. And it's not going to break for the future, for any future folks out there. Now all we're going to use is a simple hacksaw. You can use a Dremel, a grinder, whatever you want to do. I just don't like stuff flying all over the garage, so I'm just going to do this. Then we're just going to take our flat file and go around all the edges on it to smooth it out, and we should have a plug, and we'll see if it'll work, and we'll catch up with you guys once we get it on the bike. It is now fun time to get this bike out and see if all 5 gears will work. I think it will. So far, everything we've been told about this bike has been true. It runs just fine. I had my doubts. We know it'll go forward in first gear a little bit. We tried it in the garage, but let's see if all 5 gears work. I think we're gonna be okay, but we will see. Also, for the oil change, this little plug that we cut, this works great. This one was just too big, so we actually went with a smaller bolt. That bolt is down in there. There have been no leaks for about, I would say, 3 or 4 days. That includes having about a quart of oil in there, but we're gonna get it up to speed here and see if that makes any difference, and we'll check for leaks, but I think we're gonna be all right. But yeah, we're gonna go see what it does. Oh yeah, and our clutch lever too here, I keep forgetting about. So that's gonna be fun. If you ever wanna just have a good forearm workout, just take your levers, folks, and just hack them off a little bit. That way you can work on your forearms while you're riding. But other than that, I think we are ready to fire up. So let's just see what she does. Now everybody can hear me. Just a little bit quieter. So about this motor, I mentioned that what we felt on the bike, or what I felt on the bike. So the previous owner told me that it was cammed, and he thinks it was cammed and it had some motor work done. But you hear that kind of stuff and you just don't know for sure. There's no proof. One thing I did notice on this thing when I was looking at it is if you look at these factory bolts here on the push rod, the bases, I forget what these are called, these little bases, bottom of the push rods, cam blocks or lifter blocks, something like that, whatever. Anyway, when you look at the bolts, Harley always uses those bolts that say HD or Harley-Davidson, and then they say grade 8. I'm assuming they still do that on these '08 models because they are right there. On this cam chest cover, as well as these rocker boxes and the primary cover, these are aftermarket bolts if that's the case. They're completely different. There's no leaks. Everything seems done right. I will tell you something's been done to this motor because this thing will flat out freaking fly, especially when you get on it in the higher RPM. So that is awesome. This thing will scream. To me, it's almost like a little bitty hot rod. I'm guessing that's why somebody put this chain drive on it, because they were probably running the dog snot out of it, as we can tell, and probably dropping the clutch in between shifts like crazy. Gotta love it, I guess, a little bit, having some fun. But overall, did very well. All 5 gears worked tremendously. Everything shifted smooth. Everything back here, though, was rattling like crazy. Foot pegs were falling down on the back. The chain, I tried to go down and look at the chain when we were driving. I could see it flopping just a little bit because it needs to be tightened. The bike is just not safe really to ride. Also, this peg right here, which will be replaced anyway because it just looks horrendous and this rubber is about to come out. This peg almost came off, so that would have been exciting. So I stopped and came back and got a ratchet and fixed that. Also, the primary cover is leaking, and that doesn't surprise me because it's covered in oil beneath it. However, we do need to clean this cover off, and as you can see here, you can see where I've done it a few times, a fingernail will take this paint off. So all we're going to do, this will actually allow us to take this off and clean it good, throw a new gasket on it. And of course, if we have to do anything like replace the stator, which I need to check as well, we'll go ahead and do that. But that'll allow me to clean under these bolts because right here, you can't really get underneath that good. And I was debating on taking one bolt out at a time, cleaning it, putting it back in. This way, there's no debate. We're going to pull it off. We're going to reseal it and all that. And I am so freaking glad I did not change the primary fluid either because that would have been a big waste of fluid. But overall, she runs good. She runs really good, actually. She's got some power, that's for sure. Oh, and you saw my little hamster wheel here. That's fine. You know, the one thing that really gets me about this, let's see if I can find a spot here. All that black area is where the material is literally missing. So that means this filter has been running like this on this bike for a long freaking time. We will fix that somehow. But overall, that was successful. So we are going to be wrapping this one up here at this point. Next, we're going to get into this fender. That's going to be the first thing. And the reason is I want to get all this chopped up. You know, that's to scale. I want to get all this chopped up the way we want to do it and lowered while the bike is still complete on the ground with the wheel, with the shocks and everything, so we can really mock it up and make sure everything is good before we just start ripping it apart. Plus, we're going to have to repaint that fender. So that'll be next, and I think that'll really make this thing look a lot better. Well, ladies and gents, we're going to wrap this video up right here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This bike is definitely turning into, I think it's going to be a little bitty hot rod when it's all said and done. But right now, I wouldn't take this thing more than 5 miles down the road. I had stuff wanting to fall off of it just going around the neighborhood. Plus, with a real bad primary leak, that chain slapping around, there's no telling what else we're going to find. This thing is the definition, it's the definition of rode hard and put up wet. It has not been taken care of at all. But I think we can save it. I think it's not too far along, and it's only got 12,000 miles on it. So I think we can bring it around, that's for sure. Next video, we're going to be getting into that fender, as I mentioned, to start working on that. So please hit that subscribe button so you'll definitely catch that. Also, don't forget, check out our No Rules Life page. I'll put a link down in the description below so you guys can take a look at that. And as always, I thank you so much for watching, and we'll chat with you next time.